based off of everyone's concerns here, and I've been reading your live chats, by the way. I pay attention to you guys very closely. And the fact of the matter is, based off of your guys' feelings, there's clearly enough reasonable doubt to question if the Eagles' defensive line is ready to dominate in 2024. You guys have been very on edge about this defensive line, and I understand it. And I'm not going to sit here and act like your findings are unfounded or your concerns are unfounded, rather, right? Because, again, at the end of the day, that defensive line was not dominant last year on a consistent basis. As a matter of fact, that defensive line took a huge step back in terms of producing sacks and getting to the quarterback, and it also took a huge step back in terms of stopping the run. That's one of my bigger concerns this year, not getting to the quarterback. My biggest concern when it comes to the Eagles' defensive line is, can we consistently stop the run? Can we at least be a top 10 run defense? And despite, like I said, despite the bevy, the plethora of talent that exists throughout this Eagles defensive line, there are also plenty of questions and concerns sprinkled in there as well, especially since you lose Fletcher Cox to retirement, especially when you've parted ways with your most productive defensive player over the past 2 seasons in Hassan Reddick. These two brothers have arguably been your most productive, your best players, not just on the defensive line, but on the defense as a whole over the past 2 seasons. That's not something you can easily write off or something that you can easily replace. Yet, this is what they're going to attempt to do. The changing of the guard is officially here. And Jalen Carter, like Farzi mentioned, Jalen Carter has to have a great season, right? Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, they have to take that next step in their development. So much is hinging on the success of this defensive line. But before we get into the positives, right, because you guys know I'm very optimistic about certain things when it comes to this team, but I also have to exercise some level of pragmatism. I have to be realistic and acknowledge what we do know. I have to acknowledge what we have seen. I have to acknowledge what we have experienced. So again, before we get to the positives, let's address and lay out the various forms of reasonable doubt that exist. Because again, I'm basing it off of your guys' sentiment. I pay attention to when you guys speak. I pay attention to when you guys bloviate about how you feel about this team. Let's get to the reasonable doubt here. Let's get to the concerns. Let's get to what we know, what we've seen, what we've experienced. Before we do so, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the show. Really do appreciate you guys for being here for as long as you guys have. I really do appreciate you guys for being great hosts to our man Mark Forzetta, excuse me. Please smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed. That like button is currency. It's the lifeblood of the YouTube space. Without that like button being hit, the content won't move. And without the content being moved, new people won't watch the show. And if new people can't watch the show, damn it, we can't eat as content creators. So understand your power as a consumer. Understand your power as a viewer, as a subscriber, as a supporter. The like button is free. Smash that like button, you guys. Make sure you are subscribed to the show, especially and only if you like what you hear, like what you see, like what you're feeling. Even if we agree or disagree, do you respect the game? Do you respect the hustle? Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Now, let's get to the various forms of reasonable doubt that exist on this defensive line. Let's start with the name that many of you guys love to love and also love to hate. Jordan Davis. The biggest question is surrounding Jordan Davis. Will he be able to prove doubters wrong and show why he was drafted? Or show why he was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, where he was drafted at? Can Jordan Davis take that next step in terms of his conditioning? We've seen Jordan Davis play at a very high level. We've experienced it. We've seen it. Again, we're only speaking about what we've seen, what we've experienced. I want to speak tangibly here. We've seen Jordan Davis play at a very high level. We've seen that when Davis plays well, when his conditioning is in tip-top shape, when that motor is running hot, that defensive line is a force to be reckoned with. And the Philadelphia Eagles, again, tangible, right? The first half of that season, prior to the bye week, they were the #1 run defense in the NFL by a large margin. And then after the bye week, after that Chiefs game, after that Bills game, you can even throw those games in, as a matter of fact. After the bye week, the Philadelphia Eagles became one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. That's not happenstance. That's not coincidence. That's a bigger problem than just one gentleman. That's a team issue. That's a coaching issue. But keeping it on Jordan Davis, he is the linchpin of this defense. Jordan Davis's success is directly tied to the overall success of this defense. This defense will not get to where it's supposed to be if Jordan Davis is not carrying his load, if he's not doing his job to the best of his ability. You got to be in shape, young man. Your conditioning has to be in top shape, brother. Your nutrition has to be apex. Has to be. You dig what I'm saying? Jordan Davis is somebody that we know is talented. We know that when he's on, my God, is he on. But you got to show us over the course of a 17-game season and then take that into the playoffs. Moving on from Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Farzi brought him up. Farzi is putting a lot of pressure on Jalen Carter's shoulders, right? He believes that Jalen Carter is the catalyst or the nucleus of this defense. And one could argue so. He is definitely the future of the defensive line. He's the now as well. He's arguably the most talented player on that defense, arguably. And he's arguably the most dynamic, the most destructive, the most chaotic, right? He can wreak the most havoc, right? He can potentially be, he has potential to be one of the best defensive linemen that we've seen in Philadelphia Eagles history because of the talent. Now, again, he has to prove that. We have legends who've laid the bedrock, legends who've laid the legacy, who've laid the foundation in this organization when it comes to defensive line play. So now, Jalen Carter, will that be you? Do you have that fervor? Do you have that animosity, that animus to take the head off of the opponent? Will the baby rhino become a full-fledged adult? And I say that with respect because Jordan Davis has made it a point to be locked in on football. Jalen Carter has made it a point to be fully locked in on football. Jalen Carter has given us no doubt to his commitment to this football team. No doubt whatsoever. We believe Jalen Carter has all the tools to be one of the best, if not the best, defensive tackle in this NFL. But he has to prove it. What's the next step? What does it look like for a guy like Jalen Carter? Can he be everything we need him to be, especially now that Fletcher Cox is gone? Jalen Carter is the future of this defensive line by talent and by legacy. Can he get it done? He was very productive in year one. Sort of tailed off towards the back end of the season like everybody else did. He was second in the running for Rookie of the Year or Defensive Rookie of the Year behind Kobe, behind that Rams D lineman. I think his name Kobe something. I can't remember. Is it Kobe Turner? Whatever. Kobe Williams? I don't know his name. But regardless, Jalen Carter, brother, the world is your oyster. Take what you want. Take no prisoners. The ops, behead them. Put it on a pike. It's time to kill or be killed. That's where we are now. Moving on from Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, let's get to another brother who has pressure mounting on him. And again, we're only dealing with what we know. We're only dealing in the tangible, right? We're dealing in the reasonable doubt that exists, despite our optimism. Bryce Huff, brother, 10 sacks last season. Great. You did that on about 42% of the defensive snaps that were available to you. You were a third down menace. You were a pass rush menace. You were dominating whoever they put in front of you. But now, you're in Philadelphia. And on top of that, you got your money. $51 million over the course of 3 seasons. That's an average salary of $17 million per season. Good brother. You gotta show us why they invested in you long term the way they have. You gotta show that you're completely capable of being a 3-down menace, not just a third down menace, a 3-down, first, second, and third down menace. I know some people question whether or not can he be a legitimate force in run defense. He's shown flashes throughout training camp and preseason. Again, we're dealing in the tangible. We're dealing with what we've seen. We've seen Bryce Huff show flashes in run defense. We've seen it. Can that translate over the course of a full football game? Can you give us 60 minutes of dominance, being that brick wall that nobody can run through? He's very athletic. He's very talented. We know he can get to the quarterback. How consistent can you be in run defense? I think that's the multi-million-dollar question. That is the $51 million question. It all remains to be seen. And on top of that, essentially, you're filling in for Haason Reddick. You're the Haason Reddick replacement. You and Nolan. And we're going to talk about Nolan later on. We're almost there. But Bryce Huff, they basically gave you the keys and said, listen, we're expecting you to be our new Haason Reddick. A lot of pressure, especially knowing what Haason Reddick has done, what he's established in this NFL over the course of 4 or 5 seasons. Very productive player, very dominant player, very dynamic player. Still fighting for his money. Hopefully he gets it wherever he gets it from. But Bryce Huff, you're in Philadelphia now. It's time for you to show why they brought you here, why they invested in you that kind of money. $51 million ain't no joke. $17 million a season ain't no joke. We'll see. We'll see if he can carry the water. And I want to move on to another player. Someone who we all have had high hopes for. Someone that we always felt had the toolkit, the skill set to get whatever he wanted, no matter who was in front of him. And that's Josh Sweat. Sweaty J. You had a career year in 2022, brother. 11 sacks. You were a force to be reckoned with. Everybody had a career year, by the way, that year. But speaking solely on you, you had a career year, my friend, in 2022, and then you took a major step back in 2023. Over the course of the final, 6 or 7 games, no sacks at all. No sacks at all. Over the course of the first 9 games, he got 6.5 sacks. Over the course of the final 6, or final 7, or final 8, no sacks. Nowhere to be found. Now, I want to give Sweat a little bit of bail here. Not entirely his fault. They had that man playing a career high in defensive snaps. The defensive rotation on the edge was awful. They did not have one. They didn't give Nolan Smith enough snaps. They didn't give Brandon Graham enough snaps. They didn't give Patrick Johnson enough snaps. They did nothing to inject any sort of energy into that defensive line, in particular the edge. Haason Reddick and Josh Sweat, I believe, played north of 80% of the defensive snaps. Josh Sweat has never done that before in his career. Never. Josh Sweat is better optimized when you keep him in that 55 to 65 range. And that's why it's so important for this next man I'm about to mention to do his job. This is why it's so important for Nolan Smith to be the player that we need him to be that we expect him to be. This is not a Nolan Smith bashing session for some of you guys who are Nolan Smith apologists. This is simply me acknowledging the reality that Nolan Smith, over the course of 17 games being available, only gave you 1 sack. And again, he didn't really get many snaps at all. Wasn't really put in too many situations to succeed. So I don't put the rookie year on him, per se. I don't kill Nolan Smith for his rookie season. I don't kill anybody for their rookie season. I don't give anybody too many flowers, and I don't give them too many thorns for their rookie season. Because anything can happen. You may get fortunate based off of circumstance. And you may fall into misfortune because of circumstance. So now, Nolan, you enter year 2. You're going to be getting way more snaps now that Hassan Reddick is gone. You are in the rotation. You are Josh Sweat's swingman. Wherever they need you, you got to go in and you got to wreak havoc. Now, granted, 2 sacks through 3 preseason games, you have to respect that. You have to appreciate that. But you also have to take it with a grain of salt because of how he got them. But I'm not down on Nolan, and I'm not giving up on him. I think Nolan is entering this season with some pressure on him because this Eagles team, this defense, they need his production. So we'll see what he has. We'll see what he brings to the table. The rotation is such. I believe Jalyx Hunt will be rotating for Bryce Huff, and I believe Nolan Smith will be rotating for Josh Sweat. And then BG, he's going to get in where he fits in. He can play all up and down at D-line. BG can play 3 technique. He can play 2-eye. He can play 5 tech. BG can do whatever you need him to do. He has that kind of experience. So I don't look at BG as somebody that I question. If anything, it's just a matter of, hey, BG, empty the tank. Cut the cord. No parachute. It's time to go in head first, brother. It's time to just lay it all out there. It's time to let it all hang out. Let your nuts hang. This is your last season. Let them know why you've been here for 15 years. Let them know why you're a Super Bowl champion. Let them know why you deserve reverence. Let them know why you will go down in the Philadelphia Eagles Hall of Fame. Let them know why your number will be retired. I think BG is going to literally dump this season. I think he's going to just empty the gas tank. Cut the brake line. As a matter of fact, remove the brake pedal. Remove the rear view mirror. Remove the side mirrors. All I want is the windshield, and I want nitrous in that motherfucker. We going forward. And I think BG going to let it all hang out this year. That's how I'm feeling about BG. And now I want to transition to Milton Williams, somebody who's entering a contract season, somebody who's looking to get paid, somebody who's looking to prove that he deserves starting reps in this league. Now, I don't know what Milton Williams' future holds beyond this season. Will the Eagles extend him? It's a possibility. Will somebody pay him big money and lure him away from the Eagles? It's a possibility. But regardless, Milton Williams has to come in and prove that. He has to come in and prove that, hey, I just been waiting my turn. Because Fletcher Cox, you know, the OG, he ain't here no more. So that means more snaps for Jalen Carter, more snaps for Jordan Davis, more snaps for Milton Williams. You dig me? And we all like Milton Williams. We all feel like Milton Williams is talented. It's just been waiting his turn. It's your turn, brother. Shooter's going to shoot. Kill or be killed. Let them know. It's going to be time to cut that check. I want Milton Williams to make it so hard for the Philadelphia Eagles to pay him. I know that may sound counterproductive to y'all or counterintuitive, but I want Milton Williams to ball out so crazy. I want the Philadelphia Eagles to say, you know what, Milton, we can't afford you. That's the kind of season I want from Milton. It's straight like that. And then obviously you have your rotational guys. I mentioned Jalyx Hunt earlier, rookie. Again, always got to monitor and curb your expectations when it comes to rookies. But Jalyx Hunt has shown a level of athleticism and instincts and ability to drop back in coverage that we really like. We love the speed off the edge. We love how much power he has, right? Moro Ojomo having a hell of a training camp and preseason. Can it translate to the regular season? I think it will. A lot of people have been high on him. Milton Williams has spoken highly of Moro Ojomo. He's not the only one, though. A lot of people have really spoken that Moro Ojomo has really turned the corner, and they're looking for him to have a great season as well. So Moro Ojomo and Milton Williams are first man up in that rotation. Then you brought in Byron Young, right? How will he fit in? That all remains to be seen. And then you elevated Thomas Booker, the D tackle who earned his spot on his roster. What's the next step for him? How will he fit into this rotation? When he does get his opportunity, can we trust him? It's going to come down to that. And then Patrick Johnson, a player who's been a developmental piece for the Philadelphia Eagles and who has regularly made the roster for the Philadelphia Eagles and who has come in and really given us something to hope for throughout training camp and preseason. I think Patrick Johnson has taken another step in his development as well. We just got to see it over the course of a 17-game season. I think this is why the Philadelphia Eagles went 6 deep on the D tackles. I think this is why the Philadelphia Eagles went 6 deep on the edge, because you need rotation. You need guys to get their rest. You need guys to be at their pinnacle. This is why the Philadelphia Eagles went heavy on defense when it came to building this 53-man roster. So I believe, although I've given you guys so much reasonable doubt, so much information as it pertains to why you may have your concerns, because again, your concerns are reasonable. I will not sit here and lie to you guys and say there is pressure on this D-line and we need them to perform at a high level in run defense when it comes to getting to the quarterback. But also keep in mind, with Vic Fangio being at the helm of this defense, there will be unique ways in how this Philadelphia Eagles defense generates pressure. This pressure that we speak of, these sacks that we also desire, will not strictly be produced by the defensive line. Because of Vic Fangio's football acumen, I believe that pressure and sacks that will be generated in a variety of ways. I expect this defense to generate pressure more so schematically than us relying so much on talent in years past. That's not to say the talent isn't there, because I think this D-line is talented. They just got to prove it and show us just how talented they are. I think we're going to see pressure generated in a variety of ways that includes schematically and when it comes to talent, which is going to be amazing. We're going to see linebackers coming down. We're going to see safeties and corners coming down. We're going to see so much movement, so much disguising. Pressure and sacks will be generated by far more than just your defensive line. I believe that. I strongly do. We're going to end this season with the Philadelphia Eagles having, 55, 60 sacks, and we're going to say, damn, where'd it come from? You're going to see 5 sacks here, 8 sacks there, 4 sacks there, 10 sacks there, 2 sacks. You're going to see it. You're going to see a bevy of players have sacks, safeties and corners and linebackers. But I think the people who have to lead the charge, the players who have to lead the charge when it comes to getting to the quarterback, Jalen Carter, Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat. Those 3 players have to lead the charge. Jalen Carter, Bryce Huff, and Josh Sweat should lead this team in sacks. Point blank, period. So, despite the amount of reasonable doubt that I have explained to you guys, that I've shared with you guys, that you all are also feeling in your hearts, despite that reasonable doubt, I still believe the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line has a chance to win in the court of public opinion. And that brings me to my next topic. And before we do so, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are also subscribed to the show, especially if you're new. I really, really do hope you guys are enjoying what you're hearing, enjoying what you're feeling, enjoying the energy that I bring here. I live for this. I love this craft. I love this space. I love this arena. Make sure you guys stay engaged. Don't go anywhere. The show only gets better. And this is our final segment of the day. And similarly, as we spoke yesterday about the secondary, as it pertains to the opposition that they're going to have to deal with throughout the first 8 weeks of the season, I want to get into the opposition, the quarterbacks and the running backs that this defensive line is going to have to deal with over the first 8 weeks of the season. All right, let's get to the final topic, you guys. It's the home stretch of the show. You guys are locked in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. If you're new to the show, thank you for being here. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. I'm grateful that you guys have been here for a long time. Hopefully you're not here for a short time, and hopefully you stay for a good time. The show only gets better. We're entering our final segment of the show. I want to get to some of the opposition, some of the quarterbacks and the running backs that the Eagles defensive line will be facing through the first 8 weeks of the 2024 NFL season. Let's start in week 1. You open the season with the Green Bay Packers in Brazil. You face Jordan Love, who's starting to come into his own. Jordan Love, who is a talented quarterback, but I believe people still need to monitor their love for the man. No pun intended. Jordan Love is getting so much praise. So much praise. It sounds like the Jalen Hurts 2022 season. All I say is, Jordan Love, brother, be careful. It's as quick as they love you, is as quick as they'll hate you. Don't let Jordan Love start off slow. Don't let the Packers have a 9-8 season. Or don't let the Packers lose the division. Don't let the Bears sneak up on them. Jordan Love, they will flip on you like they flipped on Jalen Hurts. I digress. Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs, this defensive line by the Philadelphia Eagles, will have a tall task because Jordan Love is starting to take shape. He's starting to show he can play this game. His game will eventually have to match the contract. Hopefully it can do that. But on Friday against the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to have a tall task. Josh Jacobs is the real deal. But they've also taken a hit at the running back room. They've taken a hit. A.J. Dillon is out for the season. So now they've lost running back depth. Can Josh Jacobs carry the pill? Can he carry? Can he go for 25, 30+ snaps if they so choose? Can his motor still run hot throughout that game? Will he run out of gas on the back end? It all remains to be seen. But Josh Jacobs has proven that he can carry the workload. He's done it for the Raiders. But will he be able to do it for the Green Bay Packers? We'll see. That Eagles defensive line has a tall task ahead of him with that running back and that quarterback. That's just a reality. Moving on to week 2. Week 2. Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson. I think the Eagles defensive line gets a break here in terms of the quarterback. Kirk Cousins, he can deliver the pill. Don't get it twisted. He can throw the ball. But he's never really been mobile. And now that he's coming off of an ACL tear, he's going to be even more limited in terms of his mobility. And a lot of people like to say, well, Kirk Cousins was never mobile anyway, so I don't expect him to fall off after that ACL tear. You see, when you tear your ACL or when you break something or whatever it may be, I've spoken to people who played this game before. It goes beyond just your skill set. It goes beyond just the recovery. It's about the rehabilitation, not only of your body, but the rehabilitation of your mind, rebuilding your confidence in the pocket, rebuilding your confidence on the football field. There are certain players out there that can't get out of their own heads, and they're afraid to make that one cut because they're afraid their knee's going to give out on them. A quarterback is afraid to stand tall in that pocket because he took that one hit that damn near ended his career. Put him on the operating table. Kirk Cousins has a tall task ahead of him going up against this D-line at the end of the day. But he also has an offensive line that's pretty good. That Packers offensive line, middle of the pack, right? That Packers offensive line, middle of the pack. That Falcons offensive line, trending in the right direction. And then you got Bijan Robinson, a running back who's on the come up, who can do it in the passing game and in the running game. Two weeks back to back running backs you got to really pay attention to. And then you get to week 3, Derek Carr. I'm not worried about Derek Carr. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm not worried about that Saints offensive line either. I'm not. But Alvin Kamara, if he can get in space, he's dangerous. If he can get any kind of hole, he's dangerous. So back-to-back weeks, 3 weeks in a row, you're going up against some top-tier running back talent. And then we get to week 4. Week 4, Baker Mayfield and Rachaad White, the running back, and then that Buccaneers offensive line. There's talent sprinkled in, but as a whole, that offensive line isn't formidable as a whole. Baker Mayfield, you get pressure on him, you know what it is. You can catch him slipping. And then Rachaad White, young running back who's talented, but I'm not sure he's a 3-down back. I'm not sure how dynamic he can be. I'm not sure how dangerous he can be. Moving on to week 6, because week 5 is a bye week for the Philadelphia Eagles. Week 6, Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb. Now, Nick Chubb should be coming back off of that catastrophic knee injury he had, I believe, a year and a half ago. Nick Chubb is going to be coming off of the PUP list. And 9 times out of 10, he's going to be in a running back rotation because they don't want to kill him. They don't want to run that man in the dirt, knowing he came off of that crazy injury. So we may not get Nick Chubb's best. We're actually catching Nick Chubb at the perfect time, believe it or not. Obviously, that Browns offensive line, top 5 in the NFL. Easily top 5. So this D-line is going to have their hands full with the offensive line. Deshaun Watson, can he actually earn that contract? We'll see. Like I said, we're catching Nick Chubb at the perfect time. So this D-line, although they're going up against a legit offensive line, Nick Chubb is still going to be getting his bearings under him. We're almost finished, you guys. Keep it locked. You guys are tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge us to the game. I appreciate you guys for sticking around. Week 7, another layup. Daniel Jones at quarterback. At running back, you got Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy Jr. That's going to be a running back by committee. Devin Singletary had a pretty good year with the Bills, or a pretty good career with the Bills, I think. I forget, and I think he had a pretty good year with the Texans last year as well. He goes to the Giants with no offensive line help. It took someone of Saquon Barkley's caliber to produce in that offense with Daniel Jones. You think I'm scared of Devin Singletary in that offense? Child, please. Now moving on to week 8. You got Joe Burrow. And at running back, you have Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Chase Brown is Sidney Brown's twin brother. Chase Brown is entering year 2. He's going to get more snaps. Zach Moss, he was with the Bills last year. Had a pretty good season. And then Joe Burrow coming off of an injury. And then that Bengals offensive line has always been suspect. So the best offensive line that the Philadelphia Eagles will go up against over the course of these 8 weeks will likely be the Browns. And then from there, you go the Packers. I'm sorry, you go the Falcons. So Browns offensive line comes first. Then you got the Falcons offensive line. And then I may go Buccaneers and Packers offensive line neck and neck. And then I go Bengals and Saints offensive line neck and neck. And then the Giants are dead last. So this Eagles defensive line will have a combination of offense. This Eagles defensive line will have a combination of offensive lines that they will go up against. And as far as quarterback play, the best quarterback you will go up against over this 8-week stretch is Joe Burrow. And that's not until week 8, when your defense should be more solidified and more settled in. And you open the season against Jordan Love. So Jordan Love and Joe Burrow bookend week 1 and week 8 of this first stretch for the Philadelphia Eagles. A great test in week 1, a great test in week 8. And then you got Deshaun Watson in week 6. Another test as well. It's going to be a hell of a season. It's going to be really exciting, you guys. And that's our show for today.